You've probably all seen the picture of this starved little boy in Gaza. It's absolutely heartbreaking. But did you notice his mother who is holding him? Does she look starving? And what about the brother who is conveniently cropped out of the photo? Does he look starving? So what is going on? Is this family intentionally starving this little boy, or are they lying? There's a massive cover-up happening in the media right now when it comes to the food situation in Gaza, and it goes so much deeper than the story about this little boy. So the boy in the picture is real. His name is Mohammed al-Matuk, but he's not starving. He's sick. Mohammed has a group of neurological disorders affecting his movement, his muscle tone, and posture. He also has a condition which causes low oxygen levels in his blood. And it's suspected that Mohammed also has undiagnosed genetic disorders, further complicating his treatment. But he isn't starving. It's true that his condition has worsened over the course of the war. Hamas's continual abuse of hospitals as terrorist bases has had a very negative impact on the quality and quantity of care that can be provided, meaning it's largely because of Hamas that Mohammed looks the way that he does, which is sickening because many of the major news outlets are using him as a poster child for the quote-unquote starvation happening right now in Gaza, meaning his tragic medical condition is being exploited for political purposes. You might be thinking, what does the starvation in Gaza have to do with politics? Actually, the starvation in Gaza has pretty much everything to do with politics, as I'll explain here in a second.
Images like this illustrate the growing desperation for hungry Palestinians. The health ministry there says dozens have died from starvation and malnutrition just this week.
First, let's use some logic for a second. The world is shouting from the rooftops that mass starvation is happening in Gaza, yet they're using this boy with medically induced muscle loss as their poster child. If the starvation was so rampant as is claimed, why wouldn't they be using children who are actually starving for their photos? They should have hundreds of kids to choose from, yet that's not what we see. This video from Gaza also illustrates my point. As far as I can tell, this was filmed sometime last week. It was posted on a Palestinian Instagram account. This is really pathetic. For context, this video is slandering Israel, accusing them of forcing this child to carry heavy sacks of flour instead of enjoying his childhood or whatever. Right away, red flags should be going off in your head. If there truly was starvation in Gaza, we wouldn't expect to see anyone carrying large sacks of flour, because there wouldn't be flour for anyone to carry, much less this boy doing so. The other thing to point out is the general condition of not only the boy carrying the flour, but also the others we see in the video as well. None of them are emaciated. They actually look pretty healthy and well-fed, which is completely contrary to the idea that Israel is attempting some sort of genocide against Gaza through starvation. In all of these videos and all of the photos that come out of Gaza, no one looks like they are actually starving. It's possible some people may be going hungry, but starvation, there's actually no proof of that happening. So what are the facts? Since the war between Israel and Hamas started, Israel has allowed nearly 2 million tons of food into Gaza. 2 million tons of food. And right now, there are literally thousands of tons of food and other aid sitting inside of Gaza that the IDF has already approved for distribution, but they're just sitting there. Look at this video. Look at all of that food, nearly 1,000 trucks worth of food from the UN waiting to be distributed. The problem is, the UN won't let anyone have it. Why not? The reason why is really quite sad. Aid from the UN is a funding apparatus for Hamas, and the UN knows it. The UN has an aid program specifically for the Palestinians called UNRWA. There's one for the rest of the world and one for the Palestinians. And by all available evidence, UNRWA has become so corrupt that they're basically at this point pretty much run by Hamas. UNRWA employees went into Israel on October 7th with Hamas in the initial raids. Hostages were kept by UNRWA workers in their houses. And at one point, it was estimated that over 40% of UNRWA workers were openly on the payroll of Hamas. And this is where the corruption goes. Listen to this. Hamas needs money to fund the continued war against Israel. So they create a propaganda campaign of starvation to show to the world. Then the UN gives unlimited amounts of food and supplies to UNRWA to deliver to Gaza. Hamas arranges with UNRWA, because they basically run it, to confiscate the supplies. Then they jack the prices up and sell them in the markets in Gaza. Over the last year and a half, this has generated over $1 billion in revenue for Hamas. And Israel has been watching this, and multiple times they've tried to create an alternate system to deliver food to hungry Gazans. But every time they do, Hamas is quick to jump on the propaganda wagon, generating enough public sympathy to force Israel to back off. Then the flow of cash continues into Hamas's pockets. Then came President Trump taking office this last spring, and he was able to see this very problem for himself with Hamas and the UN.
But a lot of that food is getting stolen by Hamas. You know, they're stealing the food, they're stealing a lot of things. You ship it in and they steal it, then they sell it.
And since President Trump thinks differently than many other politicians, he authorized the creation of GHF, or the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. They're an American nonprofit who are solely focused on organizing and distributing aid to Gazans, bypassing the Hamas theft and resale of food. And they've been very successful. They are currently serving over half of Gaza, peacefully handing out thousands of tons of food directly to Gazans who really need it. But obviously, Hamas really hates this. Over and over again over the last several months, Hamas have shot at GHF distribution sites, captured and tortured workers, shot at Gazans waiting for food, and just the other day fired a rocket at one of the food centers. And the sad thing is, the corruption goes so deep, it's not just Hamas who have lost a lifeline here. The UN itself has been furious that GHF has bypassed their financing operation for Hamas. This is why there are over 1,000 truckloads of food we spoke about rotting inside of Gaza right now. The UN has brought it over the border, but refuses to let GHF hand it out. If UNRWA workers can't slip it to Hamas so that they can sell it for cash to fund the war against Israel, the UN would rather let it rot, which is tragic. Why on earth would the United Nations, the supposed representatives of the world, be so obsessed with keeping a terrorist organization in power, even at the expense of Gazans, even at the expense of the state of Israel? And why is nearly every person of power, every influencer, nearly every media network also so happy to spread the lies about the supposed starvation in Gaza to prolong the war between Israel and Hamas? Even though I believe the answer is simple, it doesn't make it easy. God says in Zechariah 12, "Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of drunkenness to all the surrounding peoples when I lay siege against Judah and Jerusalem. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will make Jerusalem a very heavy stone for all peoples. All who would heave it away will surely be cut to pieces, though all nations of the earth are gathered against it." None of these events are a surprise to God, and honestly, they shouldn't be for us either. Jerusalem is and always has been a cup of drunkenness for all the nations of the earth, which means that we who believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob must continue to stand strong. Jerusalem is a very heavy stone, and many people are trying to lift it right now, from Hamas to the UN, to those in the media, to politicians, to political commentators, to social media. The list goes on. But ultimately, we know how it ends. God says in Zechariah that on that day he will go forth and fight against those nations that come up against Jerusalem, and he will win. Speaking from my own personal experience, one of the single greatest things I do to strengthen my faith is to go to Israel myself, to walk the streets of Jerusalem, to read the books of the Bible while sitting in the places where they were written. And you can do this too. You can come to Israel with us and get your hands in the soil of Judea and Samaria, harvest grapes, prune vines, meet the pioneers in Judea and Samaria and the rest of Israel, and see all of the stuff that we talk about with your very own eyes. If this piques your interest, we just reopened up our volunteer opportunities for the rest of 2025. You can go to serveisrael.com to find out all of the details. Guys, it's time more than ever to stand with Israel with everything that we have, to find the truth about what's happening in Israel, and then share that truth far and wide, and then pray like never before. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please consider doing so. As always, thanks for watching.